Hey guys, well, we got some interesting news today, early this morning, and I just decided how I wanted to do this video. If I want to do it either today or tomorrow, just want to have some time, but I decided I'll throw something together at this point and get things taken care of. But we have some news. So according to Developer Briefing 186, Update 14 and the British forces are being rolled out May 25th. So basically what this means is, well, what was supposed to be Update 14 by itself, we're also getting the British forces. So very, very interesting, especially considering that originally on the roadmap, the British were supposed to be actually slotted for June, not May or anything else. So pretty interesting that we're getting this ahead of schedule. I guess it's a rarity, but we'll see how it turns out when it gets here. But we're going to talk about just some different things to go on about this new update regarding the British forces. We'll probably take a little bit of a backtrack on Developer Briefing 185, and just in general, we're going to break down the update a little bit, and I'm going to give a couple thoughts, and leave your thoughts in the comments below. Leave any questions, any thought pieces you want to bring to the table. Everything's appreciated. So we're just going on in this Developer Briefing. This is 186 in the Steam page here. Just reading through some of the sentences here. This week, we're pleased to announce Update 14 and the British forces are targeted for deployment May 25th. So that's the big thing. We have a date, kind of like my last announcement video, just going through. This is when it's expected to come out. So it'll be another major update, bringing it with 2 new maps, British forces, some, of course, the vehicles and weapons come with it, the new free and paid DLC, cosmetics, the first iteration of video tutorials, where I personally am happy with that. I love to see what they bring to the table, and I think it'll help a lot of people out. Non-verbal communication tools, I'll probably get some videos out regarding these when they come out. And general bug fixing. So my original worry when going through this, because I didn't read it well the first time, was this basically going to take over Update 14 and change what it was? Well, there'll still be some general bug fixing. And we'll touch on that, like kind of what they talked about in the last Developer Briefing in a minute. So, but for now, let's just talk about the 2 new maps we'll be getting. So, everyone probably already knew about the LL main map. I'll put a photo of it on screen just to show it again. So, we get an LL main. Unsure if it's going to be the first or second battle, which, you know, between the years of 41 and 42. So, we don't know about that. But the second map will actually be based in a different country as well, in the Netherlands. Their map is called Driel, and it's taking away from the events of Operation Market Garden, so pretty much an all-British offensive there, for the most part, obviously, with a couple tiny things here and there. But so basically, Operation Market Garden is what we're getting, and I mean, not too bad. I'm looking forward to it. It is something different, but those are the 2 maps, and here's some pictures on screen. We have a bit of a bridge here, a nice little sunset. Some areas around the bridge. Kind of reminiscent of Remagen a little bit, but the bridge does look a lot smaller. And we just have some other little countryside views of it. It actually looks pretty appealing, I'll say that much. But yeah, that's kind of Driel, at least the first couple of pictures. So the last thing we'll talk about with the maps before moving on to the weapons will be just the maps themselves. So honestly, looking at the Driel map, I'm kind of getting vibes that Remagen and Purple Heart Lane had a kid. This one being a bridge map, but the bridge doesn't look to be as long, and there's no hill on the German side or one side or the other. So it's not going to be probably a complete crap show like people like playing with Remagen. Because, you know, insert one of the 10 plus reasons why people don't like to play on Remagen, because of how long the bridge or whatever the case may be. There also looks to be areas on the sides that you can actually get across, so there's more than one way across the river. But overall, it does look like a very interesting map, to say the least. It is a north-south kind of layout, but I'm intrigued to see how they do this. Cap circles look very big as well, so very curious on that. On this one, we have the LL main bit. We have that airfield on the right-hand side. We don't really have much on the characteristics of the layout here, besides the airport and the just a couple of ruins here, but looks to be a little rugged, so we'll see if it's more just an open desert field. So we'll start off now talking about the weapons, starting from kind of what they had in the first bit. So we have the Lanchester Mark I, which is pretty much an emergency-made machine gun for the British military as a whole after the fall at Dunkirk, because a lot of the British Army was very unequipped, for those who didn't know. This was made pretty much as a stopgap until the Sten came out. After the Sten was pretty much developed, this was pretty much regulated to naval service, because the Navy really liked it, so they kept it around as their standard issue submachine gun. But so that's the Lanchester Mark I. Next up, you have the Sten, which would replace this weapon. The main draw, or the main reason that this weapon was really made as well, not only just to give the British their own made submachine gun, they had been importing a lot of Thompson submachine guns from the Americans, and it was pretty expensive to do so. So they wanted something a little cheaper, and this was the make of it, and overall it's pretty decent, if not basic, submachine gun. A lot of people have been wanting this as well, so there's that. Next one seems like a lot of people have been waiting for the Bren gun, just a very rugged and, well, light machine gun with a 30-round mag, gravity fed into the gun itself. Pretty basic stuff here. For sniper choice, the Brits will have the Lee Enfield Pattern 1914, P14, used extensively during World War I and used in World War II. Just talking about what we have in the developer notes here. Used World War II, often used by snipers, a little heavier, and had a reputation for accuracy. For another machine gun, though, we do have the Lewis gun, a American design that was mass-produced by the British. Had the really not too often seen top-mounted pan magazine, kind of similar to the DP-28. Overall, was a weapon still used by the British even after Dunkirk and the fall of France, just to make up their numbers as they replenished their losses. Next weapon here, the PLAT, or the Projector Infantry Anti-Tank. More or less, it's their main quote-unquote rocket launcher. I wouldn't necessarily consider a rocket launcher, more like a grenade launcher with the ability to take out tanks, but does have some decent reach. But very interesting to see how it'll be put in, especially it'll probably have to be mounted. Now, the main backbone rifle for the British Army during World War II, and what we'll probably be seeing a lot in this game, is the Lee Enfield No. 4 Mark I. Now, just the Lee Enfield series in general will be seeing a lot of, by technicality, the No. 3 was used, which was the rifle used during World War I. The No. 4 was the No. 3, but some slight upgrades had been made to the weapon. It is a 10-round capacity rifle, bolt action, and so it'll be very commonly used, as the British did not have a semi-automatic weapon, especially since like any of the other powers had them. You might see a couple Lindleys M1 Garands, maybe, but we will see. For pistols, since there was a shortage of pistols as a whole after Dunkirk as well, and just in general, the British had to make the Wembley Mark 6 revolver for their men. So there may be some Lindleys M1911s in there, some of them I would assume, but this will be the main pistol for the British Army in the game. Lastly, you have the Fairbairn, I probably butchered it either way, Sykes knife. Pretty simple, it's just the knife they'll use. So we'll have 2 knives in the game and 2 shovels. So we're going to talk about the vehicles, and especially the tanks, because I do kind of find myself scratching my head a little bit in a couple ways, and we'll curious to see what you guys have in the comments. So first off here, the first picture they bring up is the Firefly. Overall, basically, it's a Sherman with a better gun. It's got a 17-pounder cannon or a 76mm cannon. decent at taking down or at least engaging tigers and panthers, but the armor's still the same at about 51 millimeters. The turret thickness is a little better, but I can't envision this as a heavy tank. Just more or less maybe a tank destroyer or just an upgun medium tank. But next vehicle we have is, or two vehicles in this case, the Buford truck and the Cromwell. So I saw a couple people were really happy with the Cromwell. I'm a little concerned that it's on the desert. It's on a desert kind of setting. But if we're going off of previous things they've used to show off stuff, like the new animations, they had the Russian pistol on Foy. So this could just be to make it look nice and just to show off another part of El Alamein. But I hope it's not on El Alamein just for historical accuracy, as this tank kind of came out in 1944. But Cromwell will be a decent mainstay medium tank. Would not be surprised if we saw some Shermans, just because they did use the Shermans a lot before they got the Cromwell. Next up, we have the Dallmeier recon tank. I mean, it's a wheeled vehicle. It's very similar to literally the BA-11, the Puma, the Greyhound. So this will be a recon vehicle. Pretty nimble. Little different profile. Kind of reminiscent of a Puma a little bit, but I don't know. I could just be throwing things out at this point. And then finally, we have the Tetrach, or yeah, a small light tank. Didn't see a lot of service during World War II, so I'm kind of scratching my head of how this one's the light tank. But then again, they do have the looks as the German light tank, so I guess not completely out of the way weird, but just kind of scratching my head here. Now, with all the vehicles I've mentioned, it really raises the question of how are they going to truly implement the British armor? So the British armor doctrine as a whole was different than the other three powers in the game. They had the infantry support tanks like the Matildas and Churchills, and then they had a cruiser tanks like the Crusaders, the Cromwells, and then the Common when it came out. So it makes me wonder how they're going to really introduce that to the game, because Britain didn't really have a heavy tank with a really heavy gun. The best they had was the Churchill with really good armor, but the best that it ever mounted was a 75mm cannon. So it makes me wonder what's going to be their heavy tank, or is that just kind of how they balance it? Is that maybe they put in Cromwells and the Fireflies and they just do something completely different, but I just feel like it'll be a little unbalanced, maybe for gameplay reasons, but if that's what they do, then so be it. The second thing I'll mention is just there is no mention of the Crusader tank. This tank was one of the main backbone tanks for the British Army during the Africa campaigns, at least early on and in El Alamein. But just kind of concerned that this isn't the potential light tank, or not even mentioned at all as a light tank option. So we'll see what they bring on. Moving away from the armor side of things, we have a look at some of the uniforms, such as the officer and the just basic infantry. A little concerning here is, as I saw on another channel, vid, that there was no desert uniforms mentioned, not even for the Germans or British alike. So makes me wonder what all they're going with here and what they have. It'd be really nice to see a different type of uniform, like we got the winter uniforms. It'd be nice to have some desert uniforms. As both sides utilize them pretty significantly. So, but that's just me and a couple other people. So now back to what I was going to mention earlier about the just overall the bug fixes that were somewhat mentioned in Developer Briefing 185, such as the server performance in VoLP, such as the rubber banding and high ping, the reload animation bugs, such as like the Kar 98 and the Mosin Nagant, and it reloading it 3 times and basically taking 30 seconds if you expend all the shells. Radio box clipping through flamethrower, some tank shell penetration issues, LOD concerns, floating pistol, so on. Also, they're having a vote of what map between Purple Heart Lane, St. Mariglis, Carentan, St. Mary Dumont, Omaha Beach, and Utah Beach of what you, as the player, want fixed first. And what you want more, or at least well done. You can go see the developer briefing on that one, both on 185 186, as they kind of reiterate that. So besides the whole pick a map to be updated type stuff, there really isn't much that they really talked about in this developer briefing or developer briefing 186 that really talks about what bugs they're going to try and fix in this update. Truly, sure, there's stuff back in a developer briefing in 185, but doesn't really reiterate that in 186, which is a little concerning to me. But again, that's just me. Well, that pretty much sums up the developer briefing 186 and at least what was mentioned about update 14. I myself am very excited for the British forces finally arriving, but I do hope that the game gets some much needed fixes, especially on console, where there's a lot of struggles right now with the rubber banding and just overall stability issues, and just hoping that, sure, I like the content, but it needs to be nice. This update does need to kind of stick well, at least, for the game's overall reputation. This update could make or break it, but we'll see when we get there. I'm looking forward to it. Leave in the comments your views, your viewpoints, just in general. I'd like to hear what you guys have to say, but that's all I got for today. Again, just kind of a laid-back video. Sorry I'm behind the curve a little bit, but have a good day. I'll see you in the next one.